our what seemingly daily look at to just how despicable ICE is, we should just say that what's going on now in the Senate, and I think that's starting this morning, is there is I'm using air quotes here. I'm not physically doing them, but I'm just putting you on notice that these are air quotes. There's an immigration debate going on in the Senate at the moment. And for the most part, Mitch McConnell appears to be gearing this up to be just a way to weaken Democratic Senate candidates in those red states. Guys like Joe Manchin, Heidi Heitkamp, Donnelly, a couple others, trying to get them on record to take votes that McConnell perceives as hard votes for them to take in those states, which probably, based upon their support for Donald Trump, tend to be more anti-immigrant than the median in the country, particularly with a Democratic senator. It is quite clear that Donald Trump intends to veto any bill, even if it was to be able to come something out of the Senate and the House. He will veto those bills unless they have really the rollbacks in legal immigration that he wants. And by all accounts, that seems to be the White House strategy for 2018. We're going to go more anti-immigrant, more, what did Donald Trump call it? Culturally relevant or something. In other words, we're going to hear a lot more about black guys not doing what he thinks they should be doing in whatever context. Probably sports, probably entertainment. That's the strategy to drive the vote in 2018. In the meantime, a second federal court has enjoined the Trump administration from allowing the March deadline to go forward with those people who had yet to re-register or couldn't re-register under DACA. So for the moment, and still, of course, this is sort of a torturous existence, right? Where you have to wait every day to find out if you're going to get deported to a country that you really have no connection with whatsoever. So that's what the state of play is. I don't know if there's going to be any type of DACA fix at this point. Donald Trump does not think it behooves him, so that's bad news. Let's go over some of the most recent ICE travesties. This came out of Seattle, I guess, or I should say Washington State, Tukwila. I guess that's a place in Washington State. So a man who's been in this country for 14 years, came here from Honduras. He was looking to escape rampant gang violence there. His name is Rodriguez Macarreno. His brother had been shot dead by gang members. His friend had been cut into pieces. So he decided to leave. He worked as a carpenter, became a leader in his church, started a family. He has 3 children, a set of twins who are 3 and a 1-year-old. They're citizens registered, U.S. citizens. He has no criminal record. And apparently, last week, he saw someone trying to break into his car. And apparently a couple months before, someone had tried to break into his home. So he called the police. Officers found a man who they determined to be trespassing, but they didn't have probable cause to arrest him, so they let him go. The officers, however, held on to Rodriguez Macarreno. They ran him through the National Crime Information Center database. This is basically like a clearinghouse where all sorts of information, including warrants, are posted. This is, I guess, a standard procedure. But most police departments do not pay attention to what ICE has put in there. That is essentially what a sanctuary city is, for all intents and purposes. The Tukwila police usually don't act on ICE information, but apparently they saw some type of warrant from ICE. Now, here's the thing. You really can't have, I mean, I guess technically you could, maybe definitionally, but when ICE puts this up, it's not a warrant because it's not been issued by a judge whatsoever. Not a magistrate, not a judge, not a bench, nowhere. They just say, we want this guy. Law enforcement officers, local ones, do not have the authority to arrest people on behalf of ICE. There's no court issue warrant. ICE can't say, just pick them up for us. That's kidnapping. And apparently that's been upheld many times in the courts. But this administrative document that was placed in there by ICE caused them to bring this guy to ICE for deportation. I guess they're still fighting it. We'll see. But the idea that you could call the police and get deported is so dangerous for people who are living in communities with undocumented immigrants. Because all of these people are going to refuse to call the police. Oh, there's a fire over there? I'd love to call the fire department, but I don't want to get deported. I see a mugging. I'd love to call the police about it, but I don't want to have to give my name or my location because I don't want to get deported. I don't want to leave my 3 kids who are under the age of 4. So I'm just not going to participate. I'm just not going to do all the things that we hope our fellow members of society will do. Even Rudy Giuliani, when he was mayor of this city, even Rudy Giuliani understood that.
And that is a very big even.
It's a huge
I mean,
even.
People really need to get.
When Rudy
Giuliani is a prototype for these people.
When Rudy Giuliani is the voice of reason and saying you don't roll up these people without any cause, you know there's a problem. When I can sit here and quote Rudy Giuliani in a positive way on any issue that I would look at, you know that we have sort of crossed the Rubicon here. Today we have multiple stories about ICE, how despicable they are. This is in Phoenix. A guy named Jesus Barones. His mother brought him to the United States from Mexico when he was 17 months old. He grew up in Arizona, went to school in Phoenix from kindergarten through 12th grade. He started a family. He has 5 kids. For the past 2 years, Barones, who is now 30, had been working with an immigration attorney to try and resolve his legal status. Immigration officials had allowed Barones to stay in the country and apply for work permits, provided he check in with local immigration and custom enforcement officers regularly. So apparently this guy, over the years, I think as early as 2010, was deported. But he came back to the country because he had kids here who were relying on him. And then he got deported again. And he came back because he had kids here. And he wanted to take care of them. They were fully dependent upon him, the kids. And apparently when he walked back in, he just showed them an ID from his high school, which he had attended. He said, I'm going back to Phoenix. You raised here since 17 months old. You're an American. So in this instance, Barones was faced with an even more intense dilemma because his 5-year-old son has leukemia. And they were ready to deport him. And so he heard that Shadow Rock United Church of Christ was acting as a sanctuary for other undocumented immigrants facing deportation. Barones, as a last resort, basically moved in to the church because his son, Jaden, gets intensive chemotherapy once a month at the Phoenix Children's Hospital. But Barones had to give chemotherapy pills to Jaden because his wife is pregnant. And obviously she can't be handling chemotherapy pills. So he goes into the church and basically, I guess, since somebody at ICE realized at the very least, this is going to be a press story now. And between the church and the leukemia, we just got to be a little bit careful. So they have given him a 1-year stay of deportation. So you get a chance to see if your kid makes it or not, and then you leave. This is what we're living in now. This is the horror of someone who came to this country at age 17 months old is going through. I don't know why that necessarily would make a difference, but that's just absurd. It's just absurd. And then here's the last of it. The chief counsel for ICE in Seattle. That doesn't mean like the most popular lawyer for ICE in Seattle. It means the guy who runs the whole office, the guy who organizes which lawyers are going to do what. And for a region. Apparently, he has now been charged for stealing the identities of 7 people in various stages of the immigration proceedings. Oh, of course. Yes, in an attempt to defraud credit card companies.
These are the most despicable people on the planet.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to a guy recently, and he was going off about his various things that he's done in his sort of like petty criminal career. And he goes to me, he goes, but I never did credit cards, man, because when you buy those numbers on the dark web, you don't know who it is. He goes, could be a multimillionaire. That's cool. But it also could be some guy who's just living paycheck to paycheck. Right. And I couldn't live it myself. And this guy is literally deporting these people and taking their credit card number. That is the lowest scumbag on the planet.
Yeah. This is the second time in 2 years, apparently, that an ICE attorney in that very office has been charged with a federal crime.
Maybe death penalty is negotiable.
In terms of the immigrants they're trying to seek to deport.
Got those bad apples in there.
They're not sending their best from law school.
And apparently, Department of Homeland Security has been pressuring Congress to reduce polygraph requirements for some of their employees. I wonder why that would be.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of things you can do. You can sexually terrorize women. You could steal credit card numbers. You could do deals with drug cartels. There's a lot of stuff that if government bureaucracy could just get out of the way.
Now I feel like we just need some some stock music and some images of the ICE seal, and it would be a recruitment tool for ICE.